Hello VSO team, welcome to The Doors at the Nevada Museum of Art, a how-to video on opening, closing, and locking doors throughout the building, brought to you by VSO Leads Production. There are a few things you want to keep in mind before opening your door, whether it's in the stairwell or anywhere else in the building. First, is the door armed? If so, make sure to radio security and always wait for their 10-4 before opening the door. Are you allowed in this area? There are only a few areas off limits to VSOs, such as the second floor collection storage. Make sure to be mindful of what space you're going into. And lastly, is the space being used? Doors in the school, the founder's room, and more might be in use by someone else during the day. If you're unsure if a door should be locked, call security or a lead. I'll now go through some examples. Keep in mind for each of these examples, I've theoretically radioed to security to let them know that I'm going through an armed door, and I've waited for their 10-4 response. Insert your key, turn counterclockwise until you hear the click. Open the door, then turn your key the opposite direction all the way until you hear another click. Wiggle the handle to make sure it's locked, and exit. Now I'll show you how to enter into a stairwell via a stairwell door. First, insert your key and turn counterclockwise until the light turns red. Go ahead and open the door. Then, slowly turn your key just until it turns green. That means the door is now armed and you can enter into the stairwell. Additionally, there are a few ways that this can go wrong. So let's walk through those scenarios. Say you enter in your key and you turn it to red. You open the door, but then you turn the key and it goes to yellow. If this happens, turn the key all the way back to red and then slowly turn the key back to green. Alternatively, if you stick the key in and it immediately goes to yellow, turn the key all the way to red, open the stairwell, and then slowly turn it back to green. The second floor yellow stairwell is theoretically how every stairwell door should open and close. But as we very well know, that is not the case. So now we'll go through a few scenarios about how these stairwell doors differ and how to work with these different doors. As a quick recap, here is me exiting the yellow stairwell on 3. I insert my key, turn it all the way until I hear it click unlocked. I open the door, and then once again I turn my key all the way until I hear it click lock. Sometimes this door gets jammed. You might hear the alarm go off if this is the case. What happens is that this lock mechanism here gets stuck in this position. If that ever happens, you can usually just take your key and kind of jam and wiggle it in there and it'll usually pop out. Keep in mind that the door going from the 3rd floor to the 4th floor is always unlocked and it's not armed, so you can just open it. When exiting the yellow stairwell from the 4th floor, you unlock it just as you would for the 3rd or the 2nd. Where the yellow stairwells get tricky is when you are entering from the 4th floor. The doors right now are slightly broken and the light is not on. Thus, radio to security and then just push the door open. No need to use your key. Just make sure to wiggle the handle on the opposite side to make sure it's locked and you should be good. This is the case for the door on the outside plaza as well. The light's not working, so just push the door open, go inside and make sure that the door is locked on the opposite side and you should be good. If you try entering either of these doors and an alarm goes off on you, it's likely that someone before you has tried to use their key to enter that stairwell and now has rearmed or disarmed it. If that happens, just go ahead and call a lead and they'll assist you. Now we will cover the oddities of the red stairwell. Keep in mind that if you are entering the red stairwell from the 3rd or the 2nd floor, it would be just the same as the yellow stairwell. So you would put your key in, turn it to red to disarm it, and then turn it back to green to rearm it. Just like the 4th floor on yellow stairwells, radio to security, because these lights don't work either, and just push open the door. It's kind of hard, so give it a good shove, and then just make sure you slam it shut behind you because it gets kind of stuck. and then just wiggle it to make sure it's locked. Now, the funkiness of exiting a red stairwell on 2 or 3. Insert your key, turn it barely counterclockwise, and it will just open. It makes no sense, but just go with it. Make sure the door is locked. This is the same way on the second floor. You insert your key, you barely turn it, and it opens. But just make sure that it's still locked, and then you can exit. Wave hello to Chelsea as you're exiting the first floor red stairwell. All you have to do is radio to security and then push open the right door. Then make sure it closes behind you and we'll go the other side just to make sure it's locked. My last quick tip before we move on is to always make sure that after you radio security, you're waiting for them to radio you back. There's a chance that maybe they're preoccupied or something like that, and so you always want to make sure that you listen for their 10-4 or radio them again if they didn't hear you just before you go through any door. Now, a quick recap on the stairwell doors. Look for red, yellow, and green lights. It should always be on green throughout the day, as that means it's armed. You're going to be turning the light to red when you disarm the door if you're entering into the stairwell. And if you've gone to yellow, that means you've turned your key too far. Next, I always have VSOs that are unsure whether or not they've properly locked the door on the other side correctly. When in doubt, you're just going to make sure that you listen for the click and that you wiggle the handle just to make sure it's locked. If it's locked and the wiggled handle is secure, then you should probably feel confident enough that the door is locked properly. Lastly, if you're ever having trouble with any of the doors, just call for help. Hopefully now you're feeling a little bit more confident on the stairwell doors. We're now going to go through some other doors throughout the building that I think are worth mentioning just to make sure you know that you are locking or unlocking them properly. Let's get started. We're starting with the cafe door. First, you will get a cafe key from the security office. To unlock the door, you're going to turn your key in and turn it clockwise until it unlocks. Then open the door. This would be for the beginning of the day. At the end of the day, when the cafe is closed and they ask for us to lock the door, insert that cafe key again, find the sweet spot where the door will lock, and then you should be set. We're now looking at the basement yellow stairwell door. This door is often left unlocked throughout the day, so it's just a good rule of thumb to check it every now and then while roving to lock it. Now here's a bit more of a rare occurrence. Say you go to lock the theater doors and the handle itself is locked, however, the door will still be open. It's usually because the push bar on the other side has been kept unlocked. So you'll get the hex key from the front desk and you'll unlock it just like you would do for the doors up on the 4th floor. It'll pop out, and when you go to close the door, after you've given it a good shove, it should remain locked. A quick tip: if you're ever in the AV booth in the theater and the door won't lock, there's a little switch that you can flip and it should lock. Just grab the handle to make sure. Another switch to look out for is this little switch that is on the bottom of the bathroom doors on the 1st floor. You flip that to close the door once again, and you just use your normal key to lock the bathroom doors. Now we're going to look at the door going into the framer's room inside the dock. If you want to open it, you can just flip those up as well. You likely will never need to open this door, but just in case, here's how. And just make sure to flip them back to lock them at the end of the day. Now, out of all the doors that are usually not locked properly in the school, it's usually classroom B. Here's how you unlock it. And then, when people go to close it at the end of the day, they wiggle it and think it's locked, but it's not really locked. So, just always make sure to wiggle it really hard and lock it just in case it's not already locked. The exterior door in Classroom B is also tricky. To unlock it, you turn it all the way counterclockwise, and that will unlock it. But to relock it, there's definitely a sweet spot that I didn't even get on the first try. To get it just barely open the door the teeniest bit, and it should kind of switch into place. Turn it all the way to the right and it should be good. Now we're headed back up to the third floor where the storage closet is. To unlock it, go outside, inside, turn to the right, and then turn to the left. And then to relock it, just turn the main handle to the left until you hear a click. We are now on the fourth floor kitchen. To unlock this door, there are two ways. You can either turn it all the way to the left, which will make it lock and unlock entirely, and then you can relock it from here. Wiggle the handle to make sure it's locked. Or you can just turn it to the right and it will unlock temporarily, but it won't unlock it entirely, so it's still locked. Now, to exit onto the rooftop access, just radio to security and then open the door. Watch out for snow. And just in case you're ever going into the alcohol closet, this door is pretty funky. You are going to unlock it entirely, and it won't really lock until you're leaving, like here. So go do what you need to do in there, like check for leaks or anything else. And then as you're leaving, that'll be your opportunity to relock the door. Always, always make sure that this door remains locked throughout the day. Now we are looking at the fourth floor push bars. This guy is currently locked, so to unlock it, just use the hex key and make sure it's in. That will make it remain unlocked throughout the day. And then to lock it at night, just put the hex key back in and make sure that the push bar is pushed out. And then wiggle it just to make sure it's locked. Keep in mind that if the push bar is out throughout the day, the door will be locked from the outside, so we don't want to lock out any patrons. Lastly, for the sliding glass doors, this is just with your normal key. Unlock it like so, and then always, always, always make sure it is locked at the end of the day. These doors are not armed, and so we want to make sure that they are locked properly. Hopefully this video helped clarify some of the confusion around some of the doors throughout the building. I know that we didn't necessarily cover all of the doors, such as making sure that the file room is locked when you're roving at the end of the day, or things like that. But you would never need to be necessarily entering that space. And I feel like everyone's pretty good on locking the glass doors to get into the galleries. But if you ever have any troubles with any other doors throughout the building, definitely make sure to reach out to a lead. Just to recap everything that we've learned today, always make sure that you're radioing before you're entering or going through an armed door, whether that door is locked or not. Then, if the door is meant to be locked, always make sure that it is locked behind you before you leave. The best way to confirm that it is in fact locked is to wiggle the door or wiggle the handle or listen for a click. Lastly, we covered a few doors that have some weird oddities and tips and tricks on how to make sure that those are locked properly. Once again, let us know, as in the VSO leads, if you have any questions about the doors throughout the building. We are happy to make sure that it all makes sense. If you are watching this video as part of a monthly review, please go ahead and put in the comments what your favorite thing about living in Reno is.